So we're just back from our exercise, and the exercise was to create an object using bracket and dot notation that represents the characters and whatever related data you may find in a game of Clue. So what's the first thing I need to do? Who wants to go first? How about someone in the middle? Anyone want to volunteer themselves? The very first thing is always the easiest one. Okay, it's the very first thing.
You have to make an empty object.
Yep.
Empty object.
But what's the first thing I need to type?
Oh, var.
Okay. We initialize that as an object, literal. Put a semicolon in there. All right. What's the very next thing that we should do?
Define a property. So do like game.murderer equals quotations question mark.
I like it. The mystery. What's the next thing? Flannel shirt.
Another property for weapons.
Weapons. How do we do that without dot notation? Like this?
You could do it with a, that'll need to be in string.
Yep. Okay.
I made an array
Awesome.
of like gun and
Stuff like that.
tank.
All right. Laser beams. Oops, that's not how you spell laser. Lasers. Angry cats. All right. Should I put Monster Energy drink in here? Awesome. So this is cool. Why would we choose an array versus an object in this case? We haven't talked too much about when we would choose one or the other. I'm assuming that you guys have all used objects and arrays and have had to make that decision over which data structure you're going to use.
Is it just easier to store like a lot more data inside of an array? That kind of
The size doesn't really matter. It's more about the structure of the data here. Since this is a collection of things that are the same, essentially, and they don't have, basically it's because it's a collection of things that are the same. They're all weapons, so it's just like a list of weapons versus an object is more like a document, you can think of it. Like it's more of a, you can make bigger things with it and have more properties. But you can also make an array of objects and things like that. So you can combine them. So if I was going to make an array of objects here, how might I do that? Let me just break this out into lines here, just so we have space. So an object has a key and a value, right? So what could be the key here?
weapon 1, weapon 2.
Yeah, well, the thing is like we have indexes, and so we can like line up anything that has a number like that, we'll just refer to as the index. So a weapon 1 or 0 would be lasers, etc. 2 would be dish soap. Very deadly. So what would be a property name? You can call a property name also a key, just so you know it's the same thing. Property name. All right, how about, who was next in the list? How about friend in the way back?
You could do, well, you have to have, like, say, maybe lasers and then, like, the location that the lasers are at. So you would do the lasers, colon, and then the string of, like, found in the lab.
Okay, that's interesting. You could do that, that's valid, but I would recommend having a property name that is consistent among your objects. So for example, I would say to do maybe type lasers and then location lab. Do you guys see the difference there? Because now each of these data structures has a type, it has a location, and we can organize our data around that versus having to know what the property name is for a specific thing every time. So if the property name was lasers and here it was angry cats, we may have to remember that. Whereas we could just say weapons.type and it returns lasers. Awesome. We don't have to remember the specific string that's stored there. And this is a pattern. Etc. Cool. What else might we have in our game? You guys know what the rest of this is, right? It'd be the same
I
pattern.
have the character's name
Character's name?
of that game.
Oh, the name of the game? Name of the game.
Or like the Mr. White.
Oh, the characters.
Yeah.
How would I do that?
So the way I did, I guess it'd be game.name, and then I pass an array with different names saved as a string.
Cool. So, someone know a name of a character? Of a clue? Huh?
Miss Scarlet.
Miss Scarlet. All right. And brown sweater. I'm sorry, I don't know your names. Well, actually, my question is a little bit different. Sorry. How will we add Miss Scarlet to that array without just putting it in there in our array literal? So this is array literal, where we just pop it in there, but we want to add it later or add it dynamically.
Do a bracket notation or just do
Sure.
that?
Tell me exactly what to type. Pretend like I'm like, what's that Dragon dictation software?
I don't know, but game.name bracket 0
Oops.
equals
Nice. Perfect.
semicolon.
I do want it. Does anyone here anti-semicolon? Okay. Just wondering if we could still be friends. Just kidding. I don't engage in those silly things. But I do use semicolons. Awesome.
Or push.
Yeah, can use push. What does push do in the blue or green sweatshirt?
Puts it at the front of the array.
Puts it at the back of the array. But yeah. So then an array would look something like this. Miss Scarlet, and then Mr. Green. Or does it? Can someone tell me what's wrong with this? How about black sweatshirt?
Me? What's wrong with the array?
Or what's wrong? So we just added, we used the push method. And I was saying we want it to look like this, and now I'm hinting that maybe there's something wrong.
We already have Mr. Green there.
Well, this is just, this is not real. This is what we want. And I'm hinting that maybe this line is wrong. How did we add Miss Scarlet before?
With the bracket.
But what's the difference between line 14 and 15?
With the, I blank out when I put it on the spot.
Yeah, it's okay.
You have the half circles there.
Yeah, so this
Instead
is
of
a
the
method.
brackets.
Absolutely. But what about this part?
On the name property.
Yeah. So we're pushing it to the game, which is an object. So we can't push things to an object. We can only push things to an array. So we need to get to that point, was we just need to reference the next nested property. Cool. So now we're going to move on, unless we have any questions, to nested properties. What's up?
So just a little circle back from the previous, before the break.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to assign game as a array.
Mm-hmm.
So then it would still work as an array of objects.
So you're saying if we just did this,
Yeah.
yeah, everything would work exactly the same.